International Wildlife Museum, you will actually find a skeleton of a centaur along with a griffin and the head of a cyclops. While the centaur was a creature from mythology, there are several museums and universities that have these skeletons on display. Known as the Centaur of Tymphy, it looks quite real. In 1980, the Madison Art Center in Wisconsin displayed another centaur called the Centaur of Volos, with the caption, "One of 3 centaur burials discovered in 1980 by the Archaeological Society of Argos Orestiko, 8 kilometers northeast of Volos, Greece." The human bones are actually real, and so are the horse bones that come from a Shetland pony, but they were put together by a man named Bill Willers. Why? It's part of a section of the museum that's dedicated to mythological creatures. The founder of the exhibit decided to merge a human skeleton with a horse skeleton and show it off as an example of what might have been if the creature had actually existed. Number 2. Antarctica's giant sea creature. After decades of struggling with the weather on a small, desolate island in Antarctica, researchers were able to unearth the remains of an ancient dinosaur that weighed as much as 15 tons. Known as the elasmosaur, this ancient aquatic reptile swam the seas of the Cretaceous period alongside other dinosaurs. Some of the largest sea creatures of the Cretaceous period, elasmosaurs are from the plesiosaur family, with a chubby body, long giraffe-like neck, and snake-like head. Found on a small island off the coast of the Antarctic Peninsula, this was one of the most complete ancient reptile fossils ever found in Antarctica. The discovery of this specimen also shows that the species was still continuing to evolve at this late point in the existence of plesiosaurs. Number 3. Mexican mammoths. When construction work began at the site of Mexico City's new airport, workers didn't expect to uncover a huge trove of mammoth skeletons. But as they were digging, they found more and more of the extinct giants and other prehistoric creatures at the dig site. In total, remains have been found at 194 spots across the site since the first discoveries were made in October 2019. More than 100 individual mammoths, camels, horses, and bison were found, as well as fish, birds, antelopes, and rodents. Researchers believe that most of the animals roamed the Earth between 10,000 and 5,000 years ago. Number 4. Toothless. The discovery of a 700-year-old skeleton in Bulgaria wasn't particularly fascinating until researchers took a closer look. Found at an excavation site in Sozopol, a seaside town on the Black Sea, the skeleton is one of 2 skeletons found there. Buried with a chunk of iron rammed through the corpse's chest, the skeleton was found in an area of Bulgaria that is no stranger to bizarre myths and legends. But what was even more curious about this discovery is the fact that the skeleton's teeth had all been pulled out, which scholars believe was done to prevent the man from turning into a Number 5. Pictish man. 1400 years ago in what is now modern-day Scotland, a man was and left in a mysterious cave. These suspicious circumstances led researchers to believe that perhaps he was royal and was maybe kidnapped for ransom. Found in a cross-legged position with stones holding his limbs in place, the skeleton was discovered in a cave in the Black Isle in the Highlands in 2016. The unusual placement of the body led scientists to believe that this burial was indeed a special one. Believed to have died around the age of 30, the man was Pictish, a group of people who lived in the east and north of Scotland from the late British Iron Age to the early medieval period. So what would cause these ancient people to brutally kill this man? Unfortunately, we do not know what led to his death, but the discovery of this skeleton and the death its owner suffered and the strange ritual of weighing down his body with stones make for a strange ancient cave burial. Number 6. The skeletons of Shanidar Cave. In the 1950s, an anthropologist from the Smithsonian took a team to a cave in northern Iraq and discovered the fossilized bones of 8 adults and 2 infant skeletons, changing our understanding of Neanderthals forever. Buried between 65 to 35,000 years ago at a site known as the Shanidar Cave, the skeletons included a male Neanderthal aged from 40 to 50 years, who is now housed at the Smithsonian National Museum of Natural History. Known to walk upright and with a more sophisticated culture than previously assumed, these hominids and the way they were buried suggest a more complex socialization skill. Pollen found in one of the graves suggested that flowers had been buried with the Neanderthal, which offers another close link between modern-day and ancient humans. Showing evidence of injuries that were tended and healed, the sick and wounded had obviously been cared for before they were buried there. Number 7. Swedish. In Sweden, the coastal village of Sandbyborg is home to a brutal that occurred more than 1,500 years ago. On the island of Åland, there is a large ring fort in the shape of an oval with the remains of stone walls, but this was not enough to protect its inhabitants. When scientists saw looting pits via satellite, they decided to go over the place with a metal detector. Underground, they found piles of jewelry including rings, beads, bells, brooches, coins, and more hidden in the corners of houses. Then, human remains started appearing. Swedish archaeologists discovered evidence of the inhabitants of the village who were struck down in their homes. Located off the southeast coast of Sweden, the island seems like an unlikely place for such a brutal event. But even after spending 3 seasons excavating the site, archaeologists had only unearthed 1/10 of the remains there. So far, 3 houses have been excavated along with 26 skeletons. The island still has many stories to be told, ones that will hopefully shed some light on the brutal end to the lives of those who lived there. Number 8. Canada's Nodosaur. The oil sands are one of the most disputed areas in Canada, but when workers discovered what is believed to be Alberta's oldest dinosaur fossil in 2011, the accidental discovery became a monumental one. Excavated near Fort McMurray, the 112-million-year-old dinosaur, the oldest dinosaur from Alberta to date, is a new species of armored dinosaur, or nodosaur. Originally known to roam through Western Canada some 110 million years ago, nodosaurs were plant eaters. This specimen was believed to have been swept into a flooded river and then pushed out into the open sea. Discovered by a miner who noticed rocks that were harder than they should have been based on predictive analysis, the fossils were examined by paleontologists who removed the fossil along with the rock surrounding it, taking it to the Royal Tyrrell Museum in Drumheller. They spent the next 6 years carefully sweeping away the debris around the remains, which had been perfectly preserved in the mud, protecting the bones as they fossilized. Number 9. Skeleton Lake. In 1942, a British forest guide stumbled upon a small, shallow glacial lake housing hundreds of human skeletons. Located more than 16,000 feet above sea level, the lake, nicknamed Skeleton Lake, is the source of many theories swirling around the creepy discoveries made there. It took DNA analysis and radiocarbon dating to pinpoint the source of the remains. Researchers linked 38 of the skeletons to 3 distinct groups of individuals, including 23 men and women of South Asian descent. 14 others had Eastern Mediterranean genes, and 1 belonged to the Southeast Asian community. But why were these 3 separate groups found together in this lake? The South Asian skeletons were dated to around 880 AD, with the remains of the Eastern Mediterranean group and the Southeast Asian individual around the year 1800. This leads researchers to believe that the skeletons did not end up there as part of a single catastrophic event, but instead that they were placed there on different occasions 1,000 years apart. Located at the end of a multi-day trek into the Himalayas, on the lake that remains frozen for much of the year, researchers believe that many more skeletons could still be found there. Thanks for watching.